Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria Montefusco and I'm a lover of all things when it comes to makeup, and today we're actually going to be talking about some brands that have completely lost my interest. I'm not saying that these brands will never have my interest again, that I'll never purchase another product from them again, but as of right now, these are brands that I'm just really bored with, and basically all of their releases I'm like, yawn, next. So I was inspired to create this video thanks to Mel Thompson. She did a video very similar to this recently on her channel, so I definitely recommend you all to check it out. And if you want to hear about some brands that I'm just kind of bored with, I would encourage you to keep on watching. So this first brand is a brand that I remember when I first started getting into makeup, I was pretty much really into, and I feel like everybody else was really into as well. But I just feel like over the years, they've gotten really gimmicky. They just don't have like an identity. They keep flip-flopping between two different identities, and it's just really confusing. And this is Too Faced. So I remember when I first started getting into makeup, the chocolate bar palettes were really huge. I remember when the Sweet Peach palette launched, and that like broke the internet, like their website crashed because so many people wanted this palette. Too Faced was a really big deal. They had the Hangover primer, they had their glitter glue. They just had a lot of products that people really loved. And then I felt like over the years they've just been basically not innovating at all. And I feel like Too Faced has a problem where they either want their products to be like cute and kitschy, like with the peach palette and like the clover palette with like the owner's dog and like all that stuff. Like it was cute and a little bit childish, to be honest, in my opinion. But then you have the other side of Too Faced, which is like just really sexual and kind of awkward, if I say so myself. So I'm just not really into Too Faced anymore. I don't know, maybe I outgrew the kitschy, childy part of it, and then also now that I've gotten older, I'm like, all the innuendos and stuff, I don't think are very clever and funny anymore. And I just feel like Too Faced isn't innovating. I feel like Too Faced's downfall, like the start of the decline, was when they did that collab with Kat Von D. It was like a palette that was like half Too Faced, half Kat Von D. That was the first time when I saw a release of theirs, and I was like, ugh. I do not like that at all. Like, what were they thinking? And then pretty much from there, all of their releases, I've been like, ugh, what were they thinking? So Too Faced is a brand that I literally only own one product from, and that is the glitter glue that I use. And other than that, I'm not really a big fan of Too Faced, so they've completely lost my interest. This brand used to be one of my favorite brands, if not my favorite brand, and I'm really sad to say that they've lost my interest. And this is Anastasia Beverly Hills. I know. I was such an Anastasia stan. I got Modern Renaissance like pretty much as soon as it released. I had some of Anastasia's old palettes. Like there was this one palette that they had that had like a bright yellow and an orange, like a purple. It was like my first colorful palette, and I was obsessed with using that yellow matte eyeshadow whenever I could. I'll try to put a picture of it somewhere over here if I can find it. And then they had another palette that I had, which was just really beautiful, and it had like this shade called Pink Champagne. It was just like this beautiful sparkly metallic pink, and oh, so pretty. And I just loved Anastasia so much. But I feel like Anastasia started to decline with the release of the Subculture, just because that palette was, you know, not well received at all because of the formula change and all of that. I never had Subculture, I never purchased it. Just seeing their reviews kind of scared me away. But I do have more of their palettes. I have Soft Glam, I have Jackie Aina, and I also have the Norvina, the original Norvina palette in the purple like fuzzy packaging. But I just feel like over the years, there's been more eyeshadow formulas that I like better than Anastasia's, that have mattes that are less powdery, that have metallics that are just more like shiny and impactful without being like crumbly, which I feel like Anastasia's can be sometimes. And so I just feel like their formula, although it's still good, has just not really intrigued me at all recently, just because there's other brands I like better that are a bit less, you know, sketchy, to be honest. I feel like ever since Norvina has taken over Anastasia, there's just been a lot more controversies and just weird stuff happening with the brand, which I'm sad to see because I used to love Anastasia so much. But I don't know, I just feel like recently their releases have been like, meh, they're okay. I mean, there's a few things from Anastasia I want to try, like the luminous foundation. That intrigues me. I love a good luminous foundation, and there's some YouTubers on here that have skin types that are similar to mine and say it's great. And also that new highlighter they released, the iced out highlighter. I feel like from what I've seen, that basically is the same formula as the Amarizi highlighter, which I never purchased because it was too dark for me, but it's perfect for a pale girl like me. So those are two products from Anastasia I'm intrigued with, but I mean, the foundation's been out for forever. I haven't bought it yet. And the highlighter's been out for a bit, and I haven't bought it yet. So I feel like that tells you all you need to know about me and Anastasia. This next product's actually a skincare brand that I used to really love, but they've been replaced in my collection. And this is The Ordinary. So I used to love using The Ordinary's hyaluronic acid, and they had like this facial moisturizer I loved using. They had this like caffeine under eye treatment I used, and they also had like this oil, facial oil that I used. I really liked their products. I thought they worked really well for me, but recently I've been using some skincare products from Good Molecules and also a few from Kvd Beauty, which is ColourPop's skincare line. And I like those products of actually more than I like The Ordinary's products. And I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's easier to understand what Good Molecules' products do, because they like tell you like, this is niacinamide does this, while The Ordinary's products are just like, this is, you know, 10% niacinamide and that's about it. I'm not sure if that's a percentage that's accurate, I'm just making something up here, but I just feel like it's easier to decode what Good Molecules, and especially what Kvd Beauty, what their products do, while with The Ordinary, you have to really dig deep. So that's just the reason why I haven't bought any more of The Ordinary stuff. I'm just not intrigued by the brand anymore. Also, there's been some sketchy stuff going on where that happened in the past with The Ordinary's founder. He just seemed to be like really suffering from some mental health issues, and the brand was in flux for a while. I think the brand now has been bought by Estee Lauder, so I'm sure things are a lot more stable now, but there was a period of time where I was like, is the brand going to survive? And I think now they will because of the backing that they have from Estee Lauder, but I don't know, I'm just not really a big fan of The Ordinary anymore. They've been replaced in my collection. This next brand is a brand that I lost interest in 2020, and this is Hourglass. So I really like Hourglass's products. I use the ambient lighting powder as like an all-over face setting powder. Very light layer of that I use every day. And I also like one of their highlighting trios that they have that came out for holiday one year, but I think they've made it permanent in their collection. But the thing with Hourglass is that creators and customers have been telling them for years to be more inclusive. They have said, Hourglass, release darker shades, release deeper shades, help out your girls with some melanin, and, you know, just be inclusive with the highlighters and the setting powders and all the products that you release. And Hourglass has had years to respond to this. They even reformulated one of their cream cheek product like trios. I forget what it's called, but I'll put a picture of it over here. And they took years to reformulate that, and people were assuming, oh, there'll be multiple shades, it'll be great. No, one shade was released. That was it. They tried to release a highlighting trio that was meant for deeper skin tones. I mean, that would be ashy on anybody like darker than like a tan skin tone. Like seriously? So I just feel like I'm fed up with Hourglass, like just not listening to customers, just not being inclusive, just not doing the bare minimum that a brand should do and have products that are made for everybody. Like, come on, it's just so simple. They're losing out on a big chunk of the customer base when it comes to makeup, because their products just don't work on anybody that's darker than a tan skin tone, which is ridiculous. And they're also losing out on customers that used to buy their products like me, because we're just fed up with them not being inclusive and them just ignoring customers completely and just leaving it at that. So I am not going to support Hourglass unless they really make a concerted effort to make their product line more inclusive, which personally I don't see that happening ever, just because they haven't made an effort so far, and it's been years and years and years since these concerns have been raised. So bye-bye Hourglass. So this next brand has gone through like 3 rebrands and this is Kvd Beauty slash Kvd Beauty slash KVD Vegan Beauty, whatever name you know it as. This is the brand I'm talking about. So originally it was called Kvd Beauty because Kat Von D was like the owner of it and helped like design the products, the packaging, all of that. When it was Kvd Beauty, I really enjoyed the products they came out with. I thought they were really innovative and interesting. I had that Christmas release, that holiday release, that was like that chapel with like the stained glass windows. That packaging was beautiful, but I never really used those eyeshadows just because I didn't really know where to begin. But that was a release I got from her. I got the highlighting palette that was in the shape of like a triangle that had those like iridescent shades. That was a product I really enjoyed. I loved the eyeliner. I loved the liquid lipsticks when those were a big thing. I also really wanted the Pastel Goth palette like so bad, but I wasn't able to get my hands on it. And then, as you all know, Kat Von D turned out to be a very controversial figure with her anti-vax stance. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to support a brand that does not listen to science, like at all. So I decided not to purchase from Kat Von D anymore. I think a lot of people did the same thing because Kat Von D stepped down. Then it was Kvd Vegan Beauty. And then I was like, I'm not interested in anything they're releasing. Everything just seems kind of boring, kind of stale, like it's been done before. And then they rebranded again recently to Kvd Beauty, which, I mean, it's early on, it's early days, we'll see what happens, but as of right now, I'm just not interested in anything they release. Everything just seems kind of boring to me. It seems like it's already been done. I just feel like KVD, Kat Von D, blah, 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 whatever you want to call the brand, their glory days are long gone. They're just trying to recapture that again. I just feel like they're really failing. I feel like KVD needs to go back to their innovative roots, just go back to having products that really inspire people to do different things with their makeup, go back to making products that are cult classics in people's collection. Once that happens, if that happens, which I'm not hopeful, maybe we'll see KVD have a resurgence, but right now they just do not intrigue me at all. So this next brand, I had one holy grail product from them, but then, I don't know, they just fallen off the map. I have a feeling they're gonna close at some point. I mean, this is just my opinion here, but I don't see them doing well, like at all. And this is Smashbox. The products I loved from Smashbox were their liquid lipsticks. They were just really nice on my lips. They weren't too drying, the pigment was nice. I liked the colors, like the shade range that they had, but the problem with those darn liquid lipsticks is they dried out so quickly. It was just crazy how quickly they dried out. But that's the one product from Smashbox I liked. I just feel like now there are so many makeup brands at Ulta, at Sephora, and Smashbox just hasn't been releasing that many products, and when they do, they're just really boring and just, you know. Like their Smashbox is really famous for their primers, but I feel like people have found primers that do the same thing or a similar thing better. So I don't think Smashbox is really a go-to for primers anymore. And then other than that, like they were known for their liquid lipsticks, but I mean, those dry out so quickly, it's unbelievable. So I don't know, I've never really been super intrigued by Smashbox, but at least they had the liquid lipsticks for me. And then once those liquid lipsticks dried out in like 6 months, I was like, never mind. So I'm not intrigued by anything Smashbox does anymore. Another brand I feel like could be in danger of closing is Stila. So Stila, I feel like was known for kitten eyeshadow, kitten glitter, kitten everything. Like that was their thing. They had a really popular eyeliner that people really loved. They had some eyeshadow palettes that people liked a lot. But for me, my one exposure with Stila were the glitter and glows. Those were a godsend for me because I wanted to wear glitter on my eyes, but I did not want to deal with the mess and the fuss. And so having a liquid glitter in a tube was perfect for me. But I just feel like now the tides have changed and there's so many liquid glitters on the market that are much cheaper than Stila's very expensive product. And also, I don't know, I just feel like now, why do I need to wear glitter on my eyes when I can wear eyeshadows like I'm wearing today, for example, that are really shifty and metallic and aren't a pain in the butt to take off like a glitter is. So I don't know, I just feel like anything Stila does now, I'm not intrigued with. The only product I liked from them were the glitters. And then also too, there's been a lot of focus on the environmental concerns of glitter, especially glitter made from plastics. And I don't know if Stila's glitters are made from plastics, but I would bet that they're not biodegradable. I bet the glitters are not biodegradable. So that too just makes me really not want to use the product. And then just everything else they've released, I've just not been interested in. So I'm just not interested in Stila at all anymore. This next brand is a brand that I found really boring for a really long time. And this is Tarte Cosmetics. I feel like Tarte is known for Amazonian clay face products. They're known for having good, solid, neutral eyeshadow palettes. And that's about it, to be honest. So Tarte has never really intrigued me on the eyeshadow palette front, just because I've always liked eyeshadow palettes, even when neutral eyeshadow, even when I have palettes that are neutral, I've always liked eyeshadow palettes that have something interesting to them. And all of the Tarte palettes I've ever tried, used, I've just found to be kind of boring. I've never been into Tarte's face products. I never tried Shape Tape because I don't like thick, super full coverage concealer. Just, there's nothing from Tarte I've ever found to be a classic in my collection. There's nothing from Tarte I've ever wanted to repurchase. There's nothing from Tarte that's ever made me excited. So for that reason, I've lost interest and probably never really even had interest in Tarte. So this next brand is another classic brand at Ulta and Sephora, which I feel like they've been doing some more interesting things recently, but nothing interesting enough to make me want to buy anything from them. And this is Urban Decay. So Urban Decay, I remember back when I started makeup, I used their primer potion because it was like the eye primer on the market, and I have really just like not cooperative eyelids, so I always need an eyeshadow primer, and that was the first one I ever tried. I really liked it. And I also used the Naked 1 palette. I had the Naked 2 palette, and I think I had another Naked palette, but I don't quite remember which one I had. But I know I had Naked 1 and Naked 2. So that was like the peak of Urban Decay when they were like releasing their first Naked palettes. I mean, I went nuts for them. Everybody went nuts for them. I think the Naked 1 was actually my first ever high-end eyeshadow palette. So fun fact about that. But that palette has been decluttered from my collection. I no longer use Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. My Milani eyeshadow primer basically does the same thing, but better and a lot cheaper. So I use that. And yeah, just like Urban Decay, their releases have been kind of boring. They just keep going down the Naked train. I'm like, I'm sick and tired of seeing Naked palettes. Like, can we just let that die? I don't know. And like the Stone Vibes palette that they released this year for holiday, that got really good reviews. But I have indie singles and indie palettes that have textured metallic shadows like that. And I feel like I don't need that from Urban Decay in my collection in my life. So yeah, nothing Urban Decay has really intrigued me. I've never tried their setting spray. I've never used their eyeliners, like any of those cult classic products. Other than the eye primer, I've never really tried from Urban Decay, so So this next brand is a brand that I tried and actually did a video on my channel this past year, but I don't know. Their quality just didn't impress me that much, and this is Alien Cosmetics. I know Angelica Nikovic just did a video on Alien Cosmetics, and she had the complete opposite opinion of mine. She really liked their products. So like, this just goes to show you that everybody's tastes are different, and just because I don't like an eyeshadow formula doesn't mean that someone else won't, because Angie is super talented and has a lot of makeup and she likes their formula. So I mean, that shows you that everybody's different. But when I tried Alien Cosmetics, I tried 2 of their palettes. I tried their Holiday palette, which has like reds and blues, and I also tried their Serendipity palette, which just has a whole bunch of different colors. And what I found is that the Holiday palette was definitely worse quality than the Serendipity palette. The Holiday palette mattes were really hard to work with, especially the deeper blues and reds. They just weren't pigmented enough, they didn't blend out well enough, they were just kind of a pain to work with, and they were very dry mattes. I wasn't really a fan of those. But the metallics were okay. I just wasn't impressed. I decided to declutter that palette in one of my declutters. And then with the Serendipity palette, I think the metallic formula is really nice in that palette. The mattes are better, but still not what I like. It's just looking at that palette, I feel like the color story is a bit disjointed and I have no idea what to do with that palette. So that palette's still in my collection. I'm not sure if I'm gonna reach for it. I told myself that if I don't reach for it, I'm just gonna declutter it next time, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, based on my experience with those 2 palettes, I just don't think I'm gonna buy from Alien Cosmetics again. I'm just not that interested in their products now that I've experienced their eyeshadow formula. So I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. Of course I do. I love to see a small, independently owned brand succeed. But personally, their eyeshadows are just not my thing. But like other people, like Angie, I mean, she loves their eyeshadows. So take my opinion for what it's worth. And the last brand I feel like is an unpopular opinion, very unpopular opinion, and this is Alter Ego. So I tried one palette from Alter Ego, and that was the Artemis palette, which is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. So this palette I did not like at all. I liked the matte formula, I like the metallics, but the thing with the Natasha Denona Metropolis is that most of the mattes in that palette are actually a cream to powder formula, and Alter Ego tried to dupe that formula and in my opinion did not do a great job at all. Those mattes were so hard to pick up on a brush, but they were easier to pick up on a finger, but when you picked them up on your finger, like the pigment wouldn't transfer from your finger to your eyelid. It was just a very weird experience. I couldn't figure out how to make them work on my eyes, how to make them show up, how to make them layer, especially how to make them blend. I could not figure that out for anything. So because of that one experience I had with Alter Ego, I'm just not keen on wasting my money on another palette that I might not like. So that's why I'm just not intrigued with the brand anymore. Also, now that I have a full-time job and I have a pretty steady income coming in, and also now that I'm a, pretty good saver as well, I feel like there's no need for me to buy the dupe version, the cheaper version of something, because 9 times out of 10 I can afford the original, more expensive version. But I think Alter Ego is great if you are on a budget and you want like Natasha Denona Color Story, but you can't afford the palette. But if you're in a similar position to me where you can budget wisely, you can afford the Natasha Denona, you can afford the real thing, I would say go for the real thing, especially in regards to the Metropolis palette, because oof, I did not like the Artemis palette at all. So those are 11 brands that I have lost interest in. This isn't me trying to attack them. This isn't me trying to be just negative. This is just a little overview of how my opinions have changed over the years, because a lot of these brands I used to love. I used to own products from them. I used to, just talk about them really positively all the time to friends, to family, to anybody that liked makeup. But as time goes on, opinions change, formulas get better, and sometimes some brands are just left a little bit in the dust. So that's the reason why I wanted to make this video, just express to you all which brands just aren't really as much on my radar anymore. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please like the video, helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you like me, please subscribe. Would definitely appreciate to have you all join me 3 times a week for some videos. And if you have any ideas for any other videos, anything you'd like to see on my channel, you just want to say hi, please comment that down below. And with that, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.